What's up, guys? It's been a while. It has been a while. Been really busy. Well, it's time to have a mid-season review for the Washington Huskies, the football program. And I know we got Stanford in a couple of hours, but if I don't put this up now, it's going to be too late. So here's what I think about the Washington Huskies thus far. I'm not really going to single out any players in particular. Not really going to talk about a particular coach. I'm just going to talk about the different sides of the football. Starting with the positives, the offensive unit. The offensive unit is amazing this year, thus far. The play calling is great, even when the team isn't really having as much flow as they would like to. They have a lot of weapons to the point where they can go into the playbook and use a particular play to get them going again. I've been able to go to 2 Husky games this year, the Eastern Washington game and the Cal game. I plan to go to 2 more before the Apple Cup, the Arizona-Oregon game, just FYI, if you were interested. And one of the examples that I'm going to give you guys came from the Cal game when the Huskies were up by, I think, 1, and it was midway through the second half, and Cal had all this momentum. The offensive unit wasn't really doing anything. They were getting first downs due to Cal penalties, and then all of a sudden, boom, Keith Price throws a 70-yard touchdown pass to Chris Polk, and that turns out to be the game-winning. So that's just one of the many examples on of how the offensive unit has been able to click. And I really hope that continues because we'll talk about that schedule later on, but for the most part, I think all of our weak opponents are behind us at this point. So it's very good to see the offensive unit just play with such flow like this. Defense, not so much. The defense, I think the correct word to describe the defensive unit is adventurous. There are some times where they just look great. I hate to quote my buddy Deshaun directly. I don't know if he said this online, but he's definitely said this to me, and he's dead on. First and long and second and long, we do our job. We stop the plays. On third and long, not so much. I'm just going to use the Cal game again as an example. First possession Cal had, it was third and long. Next thing you know, it was we allowed something like an 80 or 70-yard touchdown score. I can't remember if it was a pass or a run, but the bottom line is we had them deep in their own end, and we just let them score. So defense is extremely shaky. However, the good thing about the defense is the last 2 games, they've been very solid, with our win over Utah and Colorado, the newcomers of the Pac-12. Now, granted, Utah and Colorado are not necessarily, the prime teams of the Pac-12, but it's nice to see the defense play a full 60 minutes. Because even though the Huskies have won games against Eastern Washington, Hawaii, and Cal, the defense, they could have easily lost those games because the defense did not, play as well as they did against Utah and Colorado. Special teams are unbelievably fantastic. If it had not been for the special teams, there's no way this team is 5-1. There's absolutely no way. If it hadn't been for a special team play against if it had been for a special team play made by Desmond Trufant, UW loses against Eastern Washington. If it hasn't been for a 4th and goal stand at the end of the Cal game, the Huskies lose to the California Golden Bears. So, special teams for the first 6 games of the season have been outstanding. Kicking games, great. The forced fumbles, the return turnovers for scores, unbelievable. Now, what I'm a little nervous about is with the special teams playing so great, we all know that in every single sport, everything averages out. And so I'm a little nervous that the special teams are going to go, they're going to take a dip a little bit, because they've been fantastic the first 6 games of the season. Overall, the Huskies are 5-1. Again, we have Stanford in a couple of hours. And I will say, after the first 4 games, that's where I expected the Huskies to be. I expected them to beat Eastern Washington, Hawaii, and Cal, and to lose to Nebraska, and that's exactly what happened. Now, you can make the case and say, oh, well, they barely squeaked by Cal, Hawaii, and Eastern. Oh, you know, they're beatable, da-da-da-da. Doesn't matter. Bottom line is, we got those victories. We won, and because of it, we are in the position that we're in right now. So to be 5-1, that's a huge thing. The problem with being 5-1 is, looking back on it, the weak part of our schedule is done. I mean, we're going to face much more talented and tough teams in the second half of the schedule than we did the first half. Stanford being one of those teams, Oregon being another, and USC, playing at USC. I know they're not having a very good season, but it's on the road. We'll talk more about that. But bottom line is, our schedule is a lot harder in the second half than the first half. So, that being said, where do I expect to get 2 victories? Remember, I said in my preview video, I want 7 victories. I don't really care if the Huskies make it to the Holiday Bowl game, or the Alamo Bowl, or what I like to call the where the heck is this game being played and who is sponsoring it.com Bowl. I don't care. I want 7 victories. Now the question is, where are these victories going to come from? Well, I am rooting for Stanford. I am rooting for the Dogs against Stanford, but as much as I hate to say this, I had this game as a loss just because of Andrew Luck and what's happening down in Palo Alto. And also the Huskies. The Huskies are they've struggled big time. They've lost by 40 points the last 2 times we played Stanford. So hopefully it's a better game, though. I just hope that it's a better game. So I have that as a loss. But then all of a sudden you got the toss-up games. Excuse me, just a second, please. You have the toss-up games, and the next game after Stanford is Arizona. And the reason why this is a toss-up game is because even though Arizona's not having a very good season, according to the Seattle Times, this is their Pac-12 preview, the Wildcats have averaged 43 points in the past 4 games against UW, including a 44-14 win last year. So the Wildcats have actually played very well against the Dogs, and that's the reason why I have that as a toss-up game. But that is a winnable game. Then you got the game against Oregon. Now, you probably are thinking, well, that's probably a guaranteed loss for the Huskies, but there's one thing that the Dogs have going for them against Oregon, and that is the game is at home, and that's the last game in Husky Stadium before the remodel. So you think the Dogs want to go out on a very high note and send this era of Husky football off on a good note before they play at CenturyLink the next few years? I should say so. I should say so big time. So the atmosphere is going to be unbelievable for that game. And the crowd's going to be into it. They always are, but no one is going to want Oregon to walk out of Husky Stadium, with the victory. And I understand that Oregon is a very talented team. They got a lot of depth. Their play calling is unbelievably good. As much as I don't like the spread. And here's the reason why I don't like the spread, is because as a former sports broadcaster, trying to call a football game when a team uses the spread, it's one of the hardest things that you can do. And that's the reason why I don't like the spread offense. But anyway, so then after that, the Huskies have, I believe they have, shouldn't have been on this down, but I believe they have USC on the road. Yes, they have USC on the road. And this is a toss-up game because even though this game is on the road and the Huskies have had troubles in Southern California, just in general, they just have a tendency to struggle, in that area of the conference. The Huskies have had recent success against USC the past 2 years, and they proved their victory in 2009 was not a fluke because they defeated USC last year. So there's a potential win there. Then they got to go to Corvallis and play the Oregon State Beavers. And, you know, I really don't like to get comfortable when we play the Oregon State Beavers. I really don't. But the more this game approaches, the more I feel comfortable because the Beavers are not doing as well as I thought they would do. I don't know what's going on in Corvallis. I really don't, but I do think that's a potential victory. I'm not here to say that's a guaranteed win, but the more it approaches, the more I feel comfortable that we're going to take down the Beavers. Like I said, I really just don't know what's going on. And then finally, you got the Apple Cup, which will be at CenturyLink Field in Seattle, not Husky Stadium, and it's against the Cougars. It's a toss-up because it's the Apple Cup. You know, the Apple Cup is all hype, and it's a rivalry game, and it's going to probably mean a lot of things for both teams. The Cougars are off to a much better start than I thought they were capable of, so they probably will be fighting for a bowl game or you know, a winning record, or at least 6-6, something like that. The Huskies are going to be fighting for you know, a higher bowl probably at that particular time. So even though we have a lot of tougher opponents, I do think that there is a chance to get at least 2 victories in the final 6 games of the season. And once we get to 7 victories, then I will start focusing on what kind of bowl, what does it mean, and where does the team, what does it mean to go to this bowl game, and where does the team go from here. But I do feel confident that the Huskies will win at least 2 games out of the last 6. I have a guaranteed loss against Stanford, and then everybody else is a toss-up game. Although I am feeling, out of all the games, I'm feeling comfortable against Oregon State, which is weird because I'm not used to that feeling. So go Dogs. That's what I think of where we're at right now. Feel free to comment below, and let's go take on Stanford. Again, I have that as a loss. I hope that the Dogs prove me wrong. Oh, that's one more thing I wanted to say. The Huskies are ranked. I don't like this. I don't like this as of right now. However, I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to let it slide because if we can beat Stanford, then I will say, okay, the Dogs are worthy of being ranked in the top 25. The reason why I'm nervous is because the last time the Dogs were ranked in 2009, I'm not talking BCS, I'm talking AP and coaches poll, because I know they're ranked for the first time in the BCS since 2001. But the last time the Dogs were ranked, it was in 2009. We beat Idaho, we beat USC, and we lost a close game to LSU. After that, we got slaughtered by Stanford. And that's the reason why I'm a little nervous of being ranked right now before Stanford, because I don't want the Huskies to just take a dive, you know, and get big heads and big egos and think, oh, we're the top, you know, team and that type of deal. You know, this is awesome that we've accomplished this. However, I'm not going to really make too big a deal about it, even if the Huskies lose to Stanford. My thing is I just don't want that ranking to affect the rest of the season, which as much, I don't think it will, but it is something to think about because of what happened the last time we were ranked. We got crushed by Stanford out of all teams, and then we fell out of the rankings and haven't climbed back up into the rankings until this week. So not really too concerned about it, but it is something to think about as the season progresses. All right, that's what I got for the Dogs. Feel free to comment below, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Also want to say feel free to check out. We're gonna have some Sounder vlogs coming up pretty soon because they've made the playoffs. So watch out for those. We'll talk to you all later, and thanks for watching.